Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Former Lloydminster Mayor and City Councillor Bill Condro passed away this week at the age of 82. Serving as mayor between 1982 and 1987, Condro was part of many projects in the city, including the construction of the bi-provincial upgrader and the Lloydminster Lakeland College campus, which has a wing that bears his name. Condro also worked to ensure Highway 16 would not bypass the city. After leaving City Hall, Condro continued to be a visible part of the community as chairman of Lakeland College's board, general manager of the Junior A Lloydminster Blazers, and working with the Alberta Relations Board. In total, he spent 7 years on City Council. 2 more people who tested positive for COVID-19 in Saskatchewan have died. They were in the 60 to 69 age group in the Regina zone and the 80-plus age group in the Saskatoon zone. The province reported 207 new cases, with 20 in the northwest. The immediate Lloydminster area has 6 new cases and 44 active cases. 1,507 cases are considered active. 138 people are in hospital, including 11 in the northwest. More than 8,400 vaccine doses have been administered in Saskatchewan, with almost 87,000 given across the province. The complete closure of Clandonald School is still a possibility after a Zoom meeting with the Buffalo Trail Public School Division had with the people in the community. We go to Shelby Clark, who chatted with a member of the Clandonald Parent Council for more on that story.
Joining us once again for Primetime Local News is Leith Matthews. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. So last time we spoke, the Parent Council from Clandonald School was having a Zoom meeting with Buffalo Trail Public School Division on February 25th about a possible closure of the school. Can you tell me what happened through this meeting?
Yeah, so we had the meeting between the BTPS division and our community to discuss about maybe new initiatives that we could bring in to sustain the school. BTPS did make a presentation on their behalf that obviously was the financial end of things. And then as a community and a school board, we were able to give initiatives, ideas to help sustain the Clandonald School.
And what exactly did the Parent Council bring to the table during this meeting?
Yeah, we brought a couple great ideas to the table. The first one that we had brought was to implement a French immersion program, working alongside the junior high school that they have in Vermilion. There isn't anything like that in neighboring divisions, so we thought that would be a nice program to offer. Our second initiative that we had brought forth was to start to run a farm ed program. And what a farm ed program is simply having a little farm for the school, the students, to participate in. And there's the opportunity to bring the learning back into the classroom as well. So it just gives the children that hands-on learning and really the responsibility, the work ethic, the learning of animals and how to care for them. So yeah, it was pretty cool. We had actually Shelby Rovine, who works with the Rural Network Development, who works with programs like this, come and join us in our presentation on it to the board. And she just explained how you would get these programs set up and how they are funded. This isn't something that BTPS would have to fund. There is government grants for this. You can fundraise, there's so many ways to be able to fund this program. So it wouldn't be asking the board to put the money out for it. So we thought it would be pretty fun for the kids, something different. Again, there's very little divisions that have this program offered. And we thought it'd be pretty awesome to partner up with BTPS to do something like this for the first time.
And who was all there in that Zoom meeting in support for the Parent Council?
Yeah, we had great support. Join our Zoom meeting. We had our MLA, Garth Roswell, That was great to see him out. We also had our county councillors, quite a few of them join. And we also had our councillor Les Cusack read a letter of support for the Clandonald School. We had also personnel from our Clandonald Agricultural Society, which is always great. They are big supporters of our school as well. And we also had great support from our Friends of Clandonald. And they had also put together a presentation in which they are going to be starting up a revitalization project for Clandonald. So that in itself is pretty exciting. It's great. There's lots of people on board with it and something really exciting that we're all looking forward to. So one thing I have to say about Clandonald is that they're a pretty amazing community, and it's a great place just to be part of. Yeah. We also had another great presentation done by the parent council of the school. And it was just great to see how these kids in Clandonald school get exposed to such amazing opportunities, and being able to be in such a small number, just having that opportunity to do what they get to do, so much hands-on. So sometimes it's hard not to brag too much about the opportunities these kids get in this small rural school.
And did lots of residents come into join to voice their opinions during the Zoom meeting?
Yeah, it was really good. We had over 135 participants at our Zoom meeting, which was excellent. That was something that we kind of had a concern with just with the COVID restrictions, but thank you to everybody that came out and tuned in and showed support. So yes, there was a time where at the end of the meeting that anybody was allowed to type in the chat area any concerns or questions. And yes, they were addressed, which was nice. You still felt like you were able to be heard. So.
And now what's on the agenda for the parent council now after this Zoom meeting?
So now we're going to be waiting for the March 17th meeting that Buffalo Trails trustee board is going to have amongst themselves. It is a public meeting, so anybody is able to tune in and to take that in. And that would just be found on the Buffalo Trails Public School Division website.
And is there anything else you want to add for people to know about?
Yeah, I think it's really important that people that have children in the school system get active with their parent council. I think it's really important that they need to know what the school division is planning and what's going on in their school division. So yeah, I think there needs to be more activity in parent councils for people. Yeah, just to have that open communication between the schools and the school board. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Leith, and I'll talk to you soon after the March 17th meeting.
That sounds great. Thank you, Shelby.
Our Tate Lakecraft sat down with Constable Melanie Flynn to talk about Fraud Prevention Month.
March is the Alberta Community Crime Prevention Association's Fraud Prevention Month, so we thought we'd take some time to talk to Constable Melanie Flynn about fraud awareness. Thanks so much for joining me, Melanie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I think that a lot of people are maybe quick to dismiss the idea of they themselves being a victim of a scam or fraud, but because of the time we live in where everyone is so connected through the internet, could you just maybe speak to how commonplace fraud and scams online are?
Yeah, so there's lots of different scams out there. We as the RCMP here in Lloydminster, we take those complaints, but we also refer to our anti-fraud unit to kind of filter through them and report on the new and uncover the new and up and coming frauds to make sure everyone's aware of that. So that's a great website to check out if you're interested into what specific scams are going around. But just in general, yeah, how to spot a scam. I'll just touch a little bit on that. So receiving calls from unfamiliar area codes. So if you receive a phone call and that area code is something you've never seen before, just be aware that that could be someone trying to scam you. Unknown emails or addresses. So even if you're receiving letters in the mail and it's an unknown address, or you look it up, maybe like cross-reference those addresses and make sure they're places. And nowadays with Google Maps, we can do that, right? You can see what that address actually is associated to. There's online or over phone. If anyone's calling you over the phone, or you're receiving online emails or texts requesting any type of payment, so specifically payment through gift cards or iTunes cards, that is not a normal way of receiving payment for any type of legit company. So just recognizing that that is a scam if they're requesting payment that way. Also, those pre-recorded phone calls that you get, you want a cruise, you're going to go on a cruise if you provide us with your credit card information. Very weary about that. So anyone who's phoning you should know your information. So whether it be a financial institution or a government agency, ask for information about you, because they have your phone number, they're calling you, right? So if they're calling and asking your name and asking your phone or asking your address, that's stuff to be leery of.
And if someone finds themselves in a situation where they fear they may have been scammed, what should they do?
Well, if there's any loss of money, you're going to want to definitely report that to your local RCMP detachment. If it's, just and then you're going to want to also, we're going to advise you at the local detachment level to also report to the anti-fraud agency, the anti-fraud center. And you can look that up online, or you can phone 1-888-495-8501. That's the anti-fraud center's phone number. You can reach out to them. And even on their online website, you can see outlined like what the current scams are and what's been circulating around in Canada. And then also just, and checking out the Government of Canada's website as well, because they're listed, those scams are listed on there.
Before we close, do you have any last thoughts or tips that could help prevent scams?
I think just if a deal sounds too good to be true, it often is. So just keep that in mind, especially when you're receiving maybe a suspicious check in the mail. That's something that red flags should start going up, and you're going to want to talk to your friends and family to make sure that's not a scam.
Thanks so much for doing this, Melanie.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your time.
In celebration of International Women's Day, Stingray Radio will be playing female artists all day on Monday on our Real Country, Boom, and Hot radio stations. To add to the occasion, Sask Music will be hosting a virtual concert event which will feature local women. Becca Day has more.
I'm here with Lorena Kelly with Sask Music to learn more about an upcoming virtual concert event to celebrate International Women's Day. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on.
So to start, do you mind talking a bit about Sask Music and what you're all about?
Absolutely. So Sask Music represents the music industry of Saskatchewan, in particular the commercial side. So we work with artists and music industry folks, from photographers to studios to accountants and lawyers, helping to grow the industry here. So some of the things we do are put on workshops for artists to help them learn how to market their product, or do exporting, or work on career strategies, and kind of everything in between from there. And we also, especially this year, have been doing a lot of advocacy around the music industry. So helping to ensure that there are changes in the royalty structures, or that our artists are able to access federal supports, since they're not working largely right now, and pretty much everything related to music industry stuff.
Perfect. So can you tell us a bit about this upcoming concert?
Yeah, so this is actually going to be our third annual concert. In a typical year, we have done a series of concerts around the province of Saskatchewan with a whole bunch of different artists, from really up and coming to really established. So obviously this year with the pandemic, we had to take things online. The good thing about that is that it's going to let people from all over the province see all 23 of these artists that we're presenting this year. And it's free, of course. We're taking donations for those who can to a couple of different great charities as well. But we're really hoping that people will be able to tune in and maybe get introduced to some artists that they didn't know about before.
Perfect. So as you mentioned, this event does provide the opportunity to showcase local and perhaps less known artists. How important is it for people to explore local music, particularly in a province that isn't perhaps known for its music in the same way that larger cities are?
Yeah, that's a big challenge that we struggle with. Not that we don't have the talent, because it's almost like we have an abundance of talent, in fact. But oftentimes you get that sense that people from the local area maybe aren't as talented as artists from other places. You always feel like, everybody from another place is better, right? And that's not just a Saskatchewan thing. That's, you go province to province, and it always seems like the artists from elsewhere are more talented, when in fact what we've found, especially since we've been doing more and more export missions around the world, is that our artists really are world caliber, and they're being booked and performing and being played in countries all over the world, and kind of looked to as this amazing talent pool that we have here. And there's kind of a like what's in the water in Saskatchewan kind of feeling at a lot of these events that we go to, and our province is seen as getting recognized worldwide for just being amazing. We've got lots of artists, including Tennille Arts and Megan Nash and Des Moskaluk, on the female side of things, that are doing amazing things and breaking through a lot of barriers right now. So that's really encouraging to see. So yeah, we do want to introduce the people right here at home to have that pride in our local talent, because it really is world class.
As we've mentioned, the event is virtual this year. Can you speak to the process of adapting it and how you hope listeners will respond to this year's event?
Yeah, so this year was particularly challenging, of course. We really would have liked to go out and film the artists in a concert setting, and our local restrictions were quite challenging at the time that we were putting the event together. So we asked the artists instead to provide us with footage that they've created, and oftentimes that was just something that they're filming at home. Some of them are solo, some of them are with partners, and so on. And so they submitted videos that they created, and then we chose from amongst all those videos and assembled this show to have a little bit of variety and different styles of music, different levels of artists, and so on. So it was a really different kind of situation for us, because we're asking a lot of those artists to be able to produce something at home, and you'll see a wide variety of where people are shooting and how they're doing that.
Awesome. So where can people go to watch on Monday?
It will be premiered from both the Sask Music Facebook page and the Sask Music YouTube channel simultaneously. And both of those will have like a chat function, so you can comment for the artists. We'll have links to all the artists' pages. And I think it'll be a really unique thing. And maybe we'll keep doing it other years, even when we're also doing concerts live again.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today, Lorena. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Now our Connor Chan will take a first look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jasmine. Sitting around that 0 to 2 degree mark, we had, of course, a very warm afternoon, lots of sunshine, but some cloud coverage is going to make its way throughout the evening, as that's going to be what we're going to see tomorrow heading into the weekend. With the wind chill feels around that -2 to -5 range. We're seeing a little bit of decent winds in the area. As we take a look at temperatures in the region, 2 degrees we see in Vermilion, Pierceland, 3 up in Lac La Biche and Cold Lake, 1 in Bonnyville, -1 for St. Paul, 9 degrees out in Edmonton as well as in Wainwright, -2 for Maidstone, and -1 we see in North Battleford, with 1 degree in Green Lake and 2 degrees in Isle La Crosse. And then down in Provost and Macleod we see 8 degrees and 6 degrees degrees respectively. Now here's a look at the Cellular Radar Map. Not a lot of precipitation coverage, it's just mainly the fact that we are going to see that cloud coverage continuing on, as we are going to see that maybe through the weekend and then kind of breaking up on Monday or even late Sunday, as we could see that sunshine coming back into the area. But as we look overnight, -1 expected overnight North Battleford for tomorrow, with that cloud coverage going into 0 degrees for tomorrow with the daytime high, -2 overnight in Cold Lake. Of course, they saw some sun throughout the day, going to 3 degrees tomorrow, so it's going to be fairly warm for the most part, just not going to have the sunshine to go with it. And as we look at our Lloydminster temperatures overnight, we are going to still hover around that 0 degree mark overnight, going into 2 degrees tomorrow with that cloud coverage, as I said, just before that. Now, as we look ahead into the next 3 days here, we see 2 degrees on Sunday, as we will start to see some sun coming up around there, -8 the daytime low there. So we're going to get a little bit colder in the morning for the next, starting on Sunday there, with 1 degree on Monday, with some more cloud coverage coming back there. With that wind chill, it does feel a little bit more like -7. So we're in for some nice temperatures this weekend in the positives, as well as into Monday as well. We're just not going to have the sunshine we want on Saturday. That is a first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more Primetime local news after the break.
After coaching for over 1,200 NHL games, Daryl Sutter will be behind the Calgary Flames bench once more. Evan Kenny and Eric Bay have more on the latest news coming off the ice.
Well, before we jump into the news about the NHL here, first things first, we have to say our condolences to the Gretzky family, as Walter Gretzky did pass away last night, Thursday night there, at the age of 82, after battling with Parkinson's, as well as some other health problems there. So our condolences. Now jumping into the news when it does come to the NHL, the Calgary Flames have fired head coach Jeff Ward after a 7-3 win over the Ottawa Senators. Joining me today to break this down is Eric Bay. Eric, thanks for taking this time and joining me.
Yeah, definitely a big move here that could have some major implications when it comes to the North Division.
And being hired in his place is Daryl Sutter. He's a familiar face when it does come to the Calgary Flames. But before we talk about Sutter, it seems like a Sutter is always in the NHL, Eric. But before we do talk about Daryl, let's just talk about Jeff Ward. I mean, what was it, do you think, Eric, that got Ward fired from the Calgary Flames here?
Well, it was just the Calgary Flames falling back into the pattern that they've had now for the past, I would say, 6 coaches, where they respond really well after a coaching change, do good for, a season, or in this case, only half a season. They do just enough to get the guy hired or stick around another extra year. And then it all goes back to what we've seen now in the past, where this inconsistent play, the ups, the downs, you talk, the firing does come after a 7-3 win. But before that, you have a 5-1 loss, then a 6-3 win, then a 6-1 loss, all against the Ottawa Senators. So just no consistency in this team, and a team that really by now was expected to be a major contender in the West. So I think just really it was the relapse into what we've seen from the Flames in the past that is the reason why Jeff Ward has been fired.
Yeah, the Flames, I mean, if you look at their standings and, how they've done over the season, it's 11-11-2 when it comes to wins and losses. But those wins, some of them are the highs of the high, and some of them are just the lows of the low. And, whether or not you do like Daryl Sutter, that is one thing that he will bring to this team is consistency. And Eric, I guess just from your perspective, what do you think of Sutter as a coach?
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm a little shocked, actually, they did end up firing Ward. I thought just with the COVID protocols and everything, it would be tough to hire a new coach. And now that I hear it, Daryl Sutter was never really on my radar as a new coach, but it does make sense. Obviously, a guy from Alberta should be easy enough to get into the bubble. And I think when you talk about creating that consistency, I think Daryl Sutter is definitely a guy who should be able to, or at least has the best chance out of anybody to do it in a Flames lineup that hasn't had it for years, it seems. And you look at what he's done, he's, kind of a no-nonsense guy, is always going to be taking responsibility and holding guys accountable. So I think that's really what this team needs, because I haven't seen a lot of accountability, no pushback in this team all season long, it seems like.
Yeah, he is a hard coach. He is a tough coach to play for. It is kind of plain and simple, and it has been brought up in the last number of years here. But he does get results. He does have 2 Stanley Cups with the LA Kings, and in his first stint there with the Calgary Flames, he brought them to the Cup finals and, arguably a goal away from winning possibly his first Stanley Cup there. So he does have a recipe for success there. There's really no doubting that. But he plays some boring hockey, or rather his teams play boring hockey. It's a lot of keeping pucks to the outside and keeping things simple. Now, Eric, how do you think that will work with this Flames team?
I'm not sure it'll work necessarily when you look at the guys they have on this team and you compare it to those Kings rosters that did win cups, just kind of those big, burly, bruising guys. But I think it's what this team needs. I think that's been a really big concern for the Flames this season, was a lot of neutral zone turnovers. And when they do get the puck in past the blue line, they do create some pressure and they do have sustained pressure, but there's just no shots. Everything is from the outside. So I think that'll be the key, is keeping those teams away from your own zone, making sure that you don't give up as many chances, because that's another issue too, is the Flames give up a ton of shots, but also being more protective in between the blue lines, because that's been a huge issue for the Flames here so far. So I think that'll be really key. And that style that you do mention is going to be needed in Calgary. It's, do they have the personnel and will guys buy into it? I think is the biggest concern for me.
I agree. The types of players, the defensive type of guys, the guys who have, that grit to their game, and as well, the goaltenders, I think they'll all love Sutter as a coach. He's directly what these kind of guys do. The Tanevs, the Kachucks in a sense. And, Michael Backlund is another guy who's good on the defensive side of the puck there. So, it could work, but, who knows how things will go with a guy like Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey there. So, Eric, things will be interesting, and, we will be following as this season continues. Eric, thank you for taking this time and joining me.
Now we're calling our channel. Take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot there, Jasmine. Sitting at 0 right now, we're one of the cooler spots on the map here as we take a look out west. 10 degrees in Jasper and Edmonton. We see lots of double digits there in the Rocky Mountain House area as well at 11 degrees. 7 in Red Deer, 8 degrees in Edson, 5 for Athabasca, and 6 in Whitecourt. We're not quite at those temperatures quite yet there, but as we look into Saskatchewan, -1 in North Battleford, we see some 3s in Meadow Lake, Saskatoon, and then 1s in Prince Albert and in Melfort as well. And as we take a look up to the northern areas in Saskatchewan, fairly warm for the most part. They're all kind of the majority in the positives. 2 in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, 4 in La Ronge there. We also see 2 in Walston Lake with 3 all the way there in Flin Flon, -3 in Uranium City, and -4 for Stony Rapids. Looking ahead to the northern Alberta area right now, we see 4s in Fort Chipewyan, Peace River, 3 degrees for Grand Prairie, 6 degrees for Slave Lake, 5 in Fort McMurray, and then -4 in High Level. Now looking at southern Alberta, they continue to be fairly warm. 15 in Lethbridge, 14 for Medicine Hat, and then we see 13 degrees in Calgary, 10 degrees in Banff, and then a little bit cooler in Coronation, sitting at that 2-degree mark. A little bit different story today in southern Saskatchewan. Moose Jaw very warm today at 11 degrees with 6 in Swift Current, 3 degrees for Kindersley, and then we see 2 in Regina and in Yorkton with 6 degrees all the way there in Estevan. Now looking across the rest of the country to see what they're going through, 7 degrees in Winnipeg, is also fairly warm for the most part as we get a little bit colder going out east into Quebec City, sitting at -12, 0 degrees for Toronto, 0 also for St. John's, and -6 in Halifax. A little bit of sun and cloud mix there in Edmonton at that 10-degree mark. -6 all the way up in Yellowknife with some flurries happening right now, and then -1 for Whitehorse. Vancouver sitting at that 9-degree mark with some cloud coverage following suit there. Now as we look ahead into tomorrow, as we get ready for the weekend, it's going to be a little bit cooler in Edmonton and the area here. We're going to see plus temperatures here for the most part. 2 degrees for Lloydminster and area in Vermilion, Marwayne, as well as in Maidstone. 3s up in Bonnyville, Cold Lake, and Pierceland, as well as all the way in Vegreville. 4 for St. Paul, 5 in Lac La Biche, as well as in Edmonton for tomorrow. Looking ahead to Maidstone, as I mentioned, 2 degrees, 0 degrees for North Battleford for tomorrow. Provost and Macklin will still be some of the warmer spots we see at 7 and 5 degrees. We see 4 degrees as we look up to the northern areas in Isle of Cross and Green Lake as well. Now looking ahead into the next 7 days, we're going to see some nice temperatures for the most part, just a lot of cloud coverage for tomorrow. We'll have the sun come back up on Sunday. 2 degrees Sunday, 1 degree on Monday there as we continue this nice little stretch here of warm temperatures of 2 degrees on Tuesday. We get a little bit cooler on Wednesday at -3 and then -2 there for Thursday. And then this time next week, we could see -4 as our daytime low there with some cloud coverage in the -10. We could see that also not only on Friday, but also next Thursday as well. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
I'm joined today here on Primetime Local News with Chris Jabkoru. He's from the Saskatchewan Realtors Association. Now, Chris, we're going to be going through some of the market numbers we're seeing here in Saskatchewan so far in 2021. As we head into March, what have we seen so far for February and January?
Yeah, in February, the province was up 2.6% in terms of prices. So we went from $265,000 to $272,000. Our sales up actually 74.5% over last year, from 663 to 1,157. New listings were down a little bit, 1,775 to 1,773, so really not down significantly, kind of not really even worth mentioning in a sense, but it is important to note that listings are slightly down, just to kind of talk about what's happening with inventory levels and kind of speaking about what's happening with respect to kind of the tightening of supply. Inventory was actually down 58.7% over February. It's down 12.8 months to 5.3 months, and inventory is just the kind of an idea of how long it would take for houses to all the houses on the market to sell if no new listings were added.
In February 2020, there was a lot of uncertainty, but what are some other reasons why the market has improved so much this year compared to last?
I think part of the reason why the market has improved so much is that people do kind of have this fear of missing out. They have seen prices rise consistently since about June or July of last year. There has been obviously some variability from month to month, but overall prices have been going up since that time. And we have been seeing inventory levels decreasing continuously, which is kind of suggesting that, again, we are seeing less supply on the market. So there's less houses available for people to end up buying. People, again, might kind of feel that need to, I want to buy something right now. There's a lot less out there. I need to get into it now.
And obviously sales are going up, but prices are also going up?
Absolutely.
And then is there a fear that with all these sales kind of going up that there's going to be a problem with not enough supply?
That definitely could be an issue going forward. If people aren't putting houses on the market, obviously there is going to be that really constrained supply. But what generally happens, or what we would hope to have happen, is that as prices keep going up, potential sellers will realize that prices are going up. This is a good time to actually sell my house if I'm thinking about selling, because I can get a reasonably good price at this point in time.
Now, we've been talking about numbers for across Saskatchewan now. I know it's difficult to kind of get into the specifics here in Lloydminster being a border city, but can you kind of take me through what the market's been like in North Battleford?
Yeah, so in North Battleford, we've seen sales go up 110% over last year. So we went from 10 last February to 21 this February. Prices have gone up 26%, $127,000 to $160,000. New listings down again, kind of suggesting that we are seeing that tightening of supply. Inventory levels down considerably as well, 75.9%, going from 19.6 months to 4.7 months. And we've seen sales increase 159%, going from 27 to 70.
And can you kind of take me through a little bit of the precautions related to COVID-19 that realtors in Saskatchewan are putting into place?
Yes, absolutely. So the Saskatchewan Realtors Association has, definitely complied with what the health regulations are. So realtors are required to wear masks while showing properties, while meeting with clients. And we've limited the number of people that can be in a house when it's being shown. And a lot of the precautions that we've put into place, we actually put into place before the government required that, because we do want to, again, make sure that the industry does remain safe and that it is safe to transact in real estate.
And is there anything else that you want to add that you feel is important?
I think one of the important things to note about real estate is that, for every house that's sold, on average, about $53,000 in extra spin-off activities generated. A lot of that's coming from renovations and, buying new furniture. So, even though we aren't necessarily seeing, a lot of houses being sold in certain instances, there is a lot of knock-on potential if those houses do sell.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me today, Chris.
The City of Lloydminster has been doing a great job taking care of the ice surface here at Bud Miller Park. And the folks out in Paradise Hill, they've been doing a great job making sure that the trail is going to be wonderful for their snowmobile rally that's coming up tomorrow. It's the Paradise Hill Community Center Fundraiser Snowmobile Rally. The first sleds are going to leave at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and there's still a few slots left if you want to take part. You do need to pre-register so that they can stagger the start times. 306-344-7723 to get pre-registered for tomorrow's rally. If you can't make it out to the rally, you can also call or text that number so that you can get a 50-50 ticket. Another way to support the Paradise Hill Community Center. Sign up now so that you can take part in the virtual Race of Vermilion. It's coming up on Saturday, March the 20th. It's going to be virtual, so you and your family or whoever is in your bubble, you get to work together to solve clues, and you're going to take on mental and maybe even a few physical challenges as well, all to have a lot of fun and all to have a chance to win the virtual Race of Vermilion. If you want to get registered, you just go online, thegoodlifeinstitute.ca. We're starting to see a little bit more green in the trees, and maybe you've seen a little bit of grass coming through the snow. Well, get out your favorite green attire and get ready to celebrate Irish Pub Night COVID style with the Border City Rotary Club. Coming up next Sunday, they're hosting a drive-through meal out at the Lloyd X. On the menu, roast beef, mashed potatoes and gravy, cabbage, peas and fried onions, and chocolate mint cheesecake for dessert. And when you get your ticket and enjoy this delicious meal, you support the Border City Rotary Club and the work they do right here in our community. If you want to get your ticket, you can go online, eventbrite.ca. Well, whatever you choose to do this weekend, we hope you stay safe and stay healthy.
What's Happening is brought to you by Northern Factory Workwear, Circle Drive East, Saskatoon, and Highway 17 South, Lloydminster.
Well, joining us for the Friday Entertainment panel is Abby St. John. Abby, there's a few things on the agenda today. We finally get our first look on set with the new Marvel movie, Thor, Love and Thunder, which is in production now in Australia. And of course, one of the big things that a lot of people loved in the last movie was the fact that they had Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth and Sam Neill kind of doing like a cosplay reenactment. So we're going to get that from what the set photos have shown us, but we also kind of get our first look at Natalie Portman in this movie as well. So what else what's some of the takeaways from these photos?
Yeah, some of the photos, we have seen photos previously. We got a glimpse of what Thor is going to look like, big arms, so very good. And then we also saw pics of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which we know, or we've suspected that they're going to be a part of this film, just because of how the end of Endgame went, where Thor did go off with them. So it'll be fun to see how they are incorporated into this film. But like you said, the tone of this film definitely has the same comedicness as Ragnarok did, which I think is very important to keep, because Ragnarok is just such a great film. It really just brings out a different side to these characters. And like you said, new photos of Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth, who portrayed Loki and Thor in that play scene in Ragnarok, they're back. Plus, we also saw Melissa McCarthy dressed up as Hela, signaling that she will be playing Hela in this play sequence, and it will depict the events that took place in Ragnarok. So that's going to be really interesting to see, and I bet that it's going to just be hilarious. I'm very excited to see how this movie flows, how it goes, and I think we're still going to get that same feeling, that same comedicness that we saw in Ragnarok in Love and Thunder, so I'm very excited for it.
We also saw glimpses of Tessa Thompson being the new King of Asgard as well, after she was given the reins by Thor at the end there of the Avengers movie. One of the things to talk about there is Netflix finally adding another big name to this movie that they're talking about, this big Netflix movie that involves Chris Evans, Ryan Gosling. Now Bridgerton star is going to be added to this cast. So talk about that there, Abby.
Yes, this is basically going to be Netflix's biggest movie investment to date. It's costing them $200 million to make. It's called The Gray Man. It's based on the 2009 novel of the same name, and the Russo brothers are directing it. They are keeping themselves very, very busy. But like you said, it is going to star Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling, and we're going to see Chris Evans in kind of the villainy role, which we briefly saw in Knives Out. But it's going to be interesting to watch that. But anyways, the movie wraps around the Gray Man, who's a former CIA op turned freelance assassin, Court Gentry, who will be played by Ryan Gosling. He's being hunted by his former CIA cohort, Lloyd Hansen, who will be played by Chris Evans. So it's a modernized spy thriller, as the Russo brothers stated. But the cast also involves a lot more stars, a lot more big names. Knives Out star Ana de Armas is going to be in it, Luke Cage's Alfred Woodard, Billy Bob Thornton, and like you mentioned, Bridgerton star Regé-Jean Page. So it's going to be a star-studded cast, and I think it's going to be a different take on the spy thrillers that we're used to seeing, you know, the James Bond movie franchise, stuff like that. It's going to be different. It's going to be more modernized. So I'm very excited to see it. And, you know, it's always interesting seeing Chris Evans in the more dark villainy roles, since we've seen him play Captain America for so long. It's interesting to see him in more of the darker characters.
And he was really good in Knives Out there. And of course, he's done some other projects as well that have gotten pretty good acclaim from him as well. And one of the last things to talk about, we have talked about it on the show before, on the panel, was the live action Pinocchio that we know Tom Hanks, we know, is already going to be in it. But some new cast members were added and announced this week. And by the looks of it, it's shaping up to be a pretty good cast so far.
Yes, yeah, definitely. They have added to their cast. Besides, you know, Tom Hanks, we already know is going to be playing Geppetto, but they've also cast Harriet star Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as the voice of Pinocchio, Keegan-Michael Key as the voice of Honest John, and Lorraine Bracco as a new character. She's going to be the voice of Sophia the Seagull. So it's going to be interesting. This film is really starting to come together, and with these actors in place, we're going to be able to kind of picture how it's going to look and what it's going to feel like. And, you know, I'm really excited to see what this cast does with these iconic characters.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like you said. Of course, we know Little Mermaid's in production. We don't have a first look yet, but we'll be anxious to see when we get our first look at Pinocchio. Abby St. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.